ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our weekly session. Sorry we had to postpone this session because of the book launch in Ahmedabad where I had to go on Saturday and Sunday. So now we will continue on chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, verses 32 onwards. Now, up to verse number 31, we saw that Arjun was describing first the very pleasing personality of the Supreme, and then the personality which was somewhat destructive, and he was feeling very scared of that. And he saw that everybody was entering the mouth of the Supreme, and as if the patangas are entering the fire. And that is what he ended up saying in verse number 30 and 31. Now, verse number 32, Lord Krishna speaks. So he says, मैं लोकों का नाश करने वाला बढ़ा हुआ महाकाल हूं. इस समय इन लोकों को नष्ट करने के लिए प्रवृत्त हुआ हूं. इसलिए जो प्रतिपक्षियों की सेना में स्थित योद्धा लोग हैं वो सब मेरे बिना भी नहीं रहेंगे, अर्थात तेरे युद्ध न करने पर भी इन सब का नाश हो जाएगा. Now in this verse, you see, it is not important that what Lord Krishna is saying here. The most important part is that we have to understand what is destiny and what is karma. Here, things are happening because of the destiny. Lord Krishna is clearly saying that whether you do it or not, it will happen. In the next verse, he says, तुम तो निमित्त मात्र बन जाओ, that you only become an instrument in the process. So the destiny happens irrespective of the action we do or do not. Now we are only a small little instrument in the whole process. So this is what these verses, the following 4 or 5 verses, they are primarily description of the destiny, where Krishna is emphasizing that these things are destined to happen and you are only working as an instrument. So he says that I have appeared a destructive force at this particular moment, and I'm going to cause destruction because that is what is needed. And therefore, all these great warriors who are standing in front of you, whether you fight with them, whether you kill them or not, they have already been destroyed by me. So he is also telling that the future is already certain. We discussed this issue in the last talk, that when you go high up in a high-rise building, you can see the movement of the traffic till very far moment, and the future becomes present for you. So here, when you reach the pinnacle of the highest peak, or when you are one with the ultimate, one with the supreme, then there is no future. Everything is present for you. So this is what Krishna is saying, that this is what which appears present to us, that appears future. So for Arjun that is future, but for Krishna it is present. So he is saying that this is all destined to happen. So don't worry, you are not going to kill anybody. You just become an instrument in the process, which becomes very clear in the next verse. अतएव तू उठ, यश प्राप्त कर और शत्रुओं को जीत कर धन धान्य से संपन्न राज्य को भोग. ये सब शूरवीर पहले से ही मेरे द्वारा मारे गए हैं. तो हे अर्जुन, तू तो केवल निमित्त मात्र बन जा. So here is absolutely clear that you are only becoming an instrument in the process. And that is what human life is all about. Very often we feel that we are the cause of the things. No, we are not the cause of the things. We are instrument in the greater scheme of things which is run by the supreme, which is run by the force which is far beyond us. And that is what we have to understand here, that we are merely an instrument. This is also a time to understand what is the difference between cause and instrument, nimit and karan. Now karan is the one which make things happen. Like somebody is supposed to die. Now the death is happening, maybe the ultimate supreme force has decided. So the supreme force is the cause of the death. And then we find why the person died. Maybe it was heart attack, maybe it was failure of lungs, maybe it was failure of some other organ, maybe it was pneumonia, whatever maybe. Those are not really the causes. In medical terminology, we say these are the causes, but actually those are not the causes. Those are just the pretext. The cause of the death is the destiny which is already predetermined by the supreme. The death is going to happen. The cause is already known. Cause is already in motion. What will happen on the earth is basically a pretext, an instrument, that okay, so and so person died of heart attack, so and so person died in an accident, so and so person died because of this illness or corona or whatever may be the region. So all these things are have to be very clear in our mind, that the overall destiny of this sansar, this universe, is different than our actions. Our actions are contributing, but not any substantial difference is happening because of that. The, we are only working as a small little cog in the overall machinery of the supreme. So this is what he is telling to Arjun, that तुम तो निमित्त मात्र बन जाओ और चिंता मत करो, क्योंकि ये सब शत्रु मेरे द्वारा पहले ही मारे जा चुके हैं. Means the destiny is already going to kill them. You don't have to worry. You just become an instrument, and then you enjoy the fruits of the victory. Then we go to the next verse. द्रोणाचार्य और भीष्म पितामह तथा जयद्रथ और कर्ण तथा और भी बहुत से मेरे द्वारा मारे हुए शूरवीर योद्धाओं को तू मार. मतलब he is now telling him that those great warriors who are standing in front of you in the army of the Kauravas, and include Dronacharya, Bhishma Pitamaya, Jayadratha, Karn, and all others, they have already been killed by me. So you just don't have to worry. You just fight the war and you are going to win, and you will just become an instrument in the whole process. So this is what Lord Krishna said in these two verses. These two verses actually tell very clearly about the destiny of the things that is going to happen. Things will take its own course, and we are not the one who are going to decide that course. The course is decided by the supreme. We are only used as instrument in that process. However, there is a question which arises here. Then a lot of people will say, then why do we do work at all? कर्म करने का मीनिंग क्या है? If things are already decided, things are going to happen as they have happened in the past, and they will happen as they are determined, and they have been determined by the supreme. What is the meaning of my karma? Now it is very important. First of all, the meaning of the karma is important for 2-3 reasons. One is that in your life you cannot escape karma. Karma is your destiny. You have to do karma from right from your birth up to your death. Even if you are sitting idle, that is also a karma. Sitting idle is also a karma. If somebody calls you, you pick up the phone, it is your karma. If you don't pick up the phone, that's also a karma. So the karma does not mean that you, it means action, but no action is also a type of karma. So this is one thing. Secondly, you have come with a software in your system. That software will keep guiding you to do certain activities. Like we very often experience, the people who realize the futility of, say, drinking, still, because of their habit, because of their certain, inbuilt system, they are not able to get rid of it. They are used to it. In the same way, there are certain sanskars which you inherit, which propel you to do certain work, certain activities. That is another reason that you have to do karma. The third reason for karma is that it may not be impacting on the results today, but your karma will impact on the results which will going to happen afterwards, tomorrow, day after, and years after. So your future destiny will be decided based on your karma today. So your karmas are not completely useless. They are very much, useful, because they will decide your destiny in the future, what course of life you will take in the future, or what will be your next birth in human or any other form of life will be decided by those karmas. So these three things are very important for karma. Firstly, we cannot escape karma. We are from the birth, right from the birth up until death, we are forced to do something that is inbuilt in the human life. Secondly, we have certain sanskar which propel us to do a particular variety of karmas. That's the second part. And the third part is that you can take certain decisions while doing karma. Many decisions you can take, they may not be very important in your current life, but they will play an important role in the destiny of your future. In the future, what will happen to you, or what kind of birth you will get, that will be decided based on your karma. So so don't believe that since the destiny is predetermined, you don't have to do karma. No, karms are important. They have to be done, and they have to be done with full force and with proper consciousness. So this is what I thought I will mention at this point. Now, once verse number 35. Sanjay comes in the play now. Sanjay says, संजय बोले, केशव भगवान के इस वचन को सुनकर मुकुटधारी अर्जुन हाथ जोड़कर कांपता हुआ नमस्कार करके, फिर भी अत्यंत भयभीत होके प्रणाम करके भगवान श्री कृष्ण के प्रति गदगद वाणी से ये वचन बोले. Now, this is the state of Arjun. How Arjun, on the one hand, he is happy, on the one hand, he is absolutely scared, on the third hand, he is confused. He doesn't know what to do, because the whole picture which he saw in the Vishwaroop of the Almighty, he was completely taken aback. He lost his balance, and this is what Sanjay is describing looking at Arjun. This whole verse tells us that on the one hand he is very happy that Gadgad Vani se vachan bole. On the other hand, he's shaking, and he is absolutely scared. He's inside there's a lot of confusion in him. All that is happening to him. So this is the state of Arjun after seeing the universal form of the Supreme. Then Arjun says this, Arjun Uvach. अर्जुन बोले, हे अंतर्यामिन, यह योग्य ही है कि आपके नाम, गुण और प्रभाव के कीर्तन से जगत अति हर्षित हो रहा है और अनुराग को भी प्राप्त हो रहा है, तथा भयभीत राक्षस लोग दिशाओं में भाग रहे हैं और सब सिद्ध गणों के समुदाय नमस्कार कर रहे हैं. Now he is describing different forms of the Supreme which he is able to see with his Divya Drashti. So on the one hand, he says that आपके नाम और गुणों का कीर्तन कर रहे हैं. That lot of people are praying for you, praying, appreciating, the great qualities which you have, and you are giving pleasure to them. On the other hand, the people who are doing, bad activities, who are engaged in cruelty, they are absolutely scared. They don't know what to do, and they are feeling, they are full of fear, and they are running here and there in all directions because of that fear. And then the people who are, who have achieved certain, what you say, uh, consciousness, higher consciousness, those people are coming and they are again surrendering to you. So this is the three different versions he is describing here. The the people who are praying to you, people who are appreciating, who are happy, the people who are scared, who are absolutely, dead, feeling mortal, and then the people who are surrendering to the Almighty because they have attained a higher level of consciousness. So these are the three qualities which Arjuna observed when he saw the whole universe in Lord Krishna, and he is mentioning that. हे परमात्मन, ब्रह्मा के भी आदि करता और सबसे बड़े आपके लिए वह कैसे नमस्कार न करें, क्योंकि हे अनंत, हे देवेश, हे जगन निवास, जो सत्य, असत और उससे भी परे अक्षर है, अर्थात सच्चिदानंद घन ब्रह्म है, वो आप ही हैं. Now, he is absolutely taken aback, and that is why he is, all this description, he is, it is coming naturally out of his variety of state inside he has. One is the gratefulness, anugrah, because he felt that the Almighty Supreme has given him this grace and he's able to see this, great Vishwaroop in a, with the special eyes which have been given to him. So that is, he has to be very thankful to the Supreme for that. And then he's saying, using all kinds of adjectives. He's saying, Hey Anant, Hey Deves, Hey Jagan Nivas. Means he's just appreciating the Supreme, because the Supreme has given him this great opportunity to see the whole universe in one single place. And then he says, Sat, Asat, jo bhi kuch hai, aap sab kuch hai. Now, Sat and Asat, and a little bit, description of these two words is very important. Sat is actually used for those entities which are non-changing and which exist forever. Asat is used for those manifestation which are subject to change. Asat does not mean they don't exist. They exist, but they constantly change. They undergo constant change, and therefore, because of that change, they are not able to retain their form exactly the way they are. For example, in our own body, the body is Asat, the consciousness is Sat. The consciousness exists constantly without any change. With this consciousness, you can see your childhood, you can see your youth, you can see your current situation, you can also imagine what will happen in the future. The constant in this whole situation is the consciousness which provides you an instrument to see the changes in the body that are happening. The body is asat because it's constantly changing every second. Every millisecond body is changing. Your what we call cells are dying and new cells are created. The aging process is taking place. A child is growing, and the adults are growing. The youth are becoming older, and older are becoming older, and then they are going in the direction of death. So this whole process of constant change which is happening, that is called asat. And the thing which is remains constant throughout, which doesn't get altered at all, that is called sat. So in this whole process, whatever manifest world we see with our sense organs, that is subject to change, and therefore that is called asat. Even the sun is asat, the earth is asat, the mountains, the river, the other, humans we see, all that is asat. The only sat in that all this process is the consciousness which governs the entire system. So this is what Arjun is saying here, that you are the Sat, you are the Asat, you are Akshar, and you are everything. This was also explained by Lord Krishna in chapter 7 when he said that I have two variety of nature. One is called apara and other is called para. Apara is the one which was divided into 8 segments, and those 8 segments are Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi, Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. These are the 8 states of apara, which is asat, which is subject to change, which are constantly changing, and therefore they are asat. The Parashakti is the one which provides consciousness, which provides life to everything, and that remains constant, unaltered, and that is called Sat. So, this is the difference between Asat and Sat. And now let's go to verse number 38. आप आदि देव और सनातन पुरुष हैं, आप इस जगत के परम आश्रय हैं और जानने वाले तथा जानने योग्य परम धाम है। अनंत रूप आपसे ये सब जगत व्याप्त अर्थात परिपूर्ण है। Now he has described here the real truth which Lord Krishna has been telling him in the last many chapters, but he did not feel it exactly, but now he is feeling it. He says, आप आदि देव हैं, that you are the cause of everything. You are the origin of origin. Sanatan hai, that you remain constant, you don't change, you are not subject to change. इस जगत के परम आश्रय means the whole universe is subsisting because of you. Because of you, the whole universe is in existence, otherwise it will be completely destroyed. And आप ही जानने योग्य परम धाम है, because you are everything in this universe, and therefore there is nothing else to know. This is the only thing to be known. And that is what Upanishads talk about. Many Upanishads start with this question that if you know one particular thing, the whole universe is known to you. You cannot know everything which is existing in this universe. For example, there are millions and billions of things. A person who may be in music, music also has so many forms. Sports has so many forms. The business has so many varieties. You cannot become expert even in a small business, because that business also has so many facets. So we cannot understand this universe in its in a different forms. But if you can understand the underlying cause of this, all this, that is Brahman, then you can understand everything. So that is what Upanishads emphasize, that if you can understand Brahman, then the whole universe is known to you. You don't have to know the details. But if you try to know the details, then you will get completely engaged and confused in that process, and you will not understand the supreme cause underlying this whole existence. And this is what Arjun has now understood here, that you are everything, you are the cause of causes, you are, prevailing, you are pervading everything everywhere. This is what ultimately he says. So this is what Arjun is telling to the Supreme, because he is now very, very grateful to him that he has been given this power to see the supreme form or universal form of the Supreme. He continues to describe that further. आप, वायु, यमराज, अग्नि, वरुण, चंद्रमा, प्रजा के स्वामी, ब्रह्मा और ब्रह्मा के भी पिता, आपके लिए हजारों बार नमस्कार, नमस्कार हो, आपके लिए बार बार नमस्कार, नमस्कार. Now, he is absolutely grateful to the Supreme, and therefore he doesn't know how to express himself. And he is coming out more and more words to express his sentiments, his overwhelming sentiments. And that is why he's saying कि आप वायु हैं, आप ही यमराज हैं, आप ही अरुण हैं, वरुण हैं, सॉरी, आप ही अग्नि हैं, आप ही चंद्रमा हैं, आप ही ब्रह्मा हैं, आप ही ब्रह्मा के पिता भी हैं, और आपको नमस्कार हो, नमस्कार हो, नमस्कार हो. So this is his expression of profound gratitude to the Supreme in different forms. Then verse number 40, हे अनंत सामर्थ्य वाले, आपके लिए आगे से और पीछे से नमस्कार. हे सर्वात्मना, आपके लिए सब ओर से नमस्कार हो, क्योंकि अनंत पराक्रमशाली आप समस्त संसार को व्याप्त किए हुए हैं और आप ही सर्वस्वरूप हैं. Now, this is, his overwhelming appreciation. So it is just giving thanks and thanks and thanks. A person who is absolutely overwhelmed, he doesn't know how to express his thanks. So he is coming out with these words. He's saying that you are the Supreme, you are all powerful, you are omnipresent, you are, omniscient, you are everything, and I am grateful to you that you have enabled me to see this supreme form. So this is basically, the overwhelming expression of his sentiments. Then verse number 41 and 42, आपके इस प्रभाव को न जानते हुए आप मेरे सखा हैं ऐसा मानकर प्रेम से अथवा प्रमाद से भी मैंने हे कृष्ण, हे यादव, हे सखे, इस प्रकार जो कुछ बिना सोचे समझे हठात से कहा. और हे अच्युत, आप जो मेरे द्वारा विनोद के समय विहार, सैया, आसन और भोजन आदि में अकेले अथवा सखाओं के सामने भी अपमानित किए गए, वह सब अपराध अप्रमेय स्वरूप अर्थात अचिंत्य प्रभाव वाले आपसे मैं क्षमा करवाता हूं. Now you see, it is very clear that until the chapter 11, Arjun was not able to understand the supreme form of Lord Krishna. He kept asking questions. Even now, he is differentiating a little bit. He is considering Supreme separately than himself. That difference will also disappear slowly, but right now that difference remains. And that is why he is telling me that whatever hurt I might have caused to you in variety of forms, because they were ultimately brothers, they were cousins. बुआ का लड़के ही तो थे कृष्ण. Uh, Devki and Vasudev, they were, the Bhua, that was the family related to Pandavas. So Arjun and Krishna, in that sense, they grew up together. They also had similar. They were in the age group, so they played together. They lived together. They enjoyed life together. And so obviously, uh, now Arjuna is thinking that he had done all kinds of things with him. He should at least express that those should be forgiven to him. So he's requesting the Supreme that please forgive me all those wrong things which I did knowingly and unknowingly during variety of activities which we perform together. So that is what he's saying basically after understanding the supreme nature of Lord Krishna. Before that, he was not so clear about this. He knew that Lord Krishna has certain special powers, but he was not sure that he is the Supreme Lord. That is what was not clear to him. It was not clear to many people actually. You would see in Mahabharata, lot of people use derogatory language against Krishna. This because they didn't know about the supreme form of Lord Krishna. Many people called him कि तो ग्वाला है तो गायों को चराता है. Some people says he's a dancer, he's just singing and dancing. All kinds of derogatory language was used against him because they did not understand the supreme. And this is very fascinating. There is there is a story in Christianity that there's prayer going on in a church, and the priest of the church was very dedicated, to the Christ. So one day the Christ appeared to him in the night, in the dreams, and he said that, why not now? You are so dedicated, a lot of people are praying for me now. There was a time when they were, ready to kill me and they hanged me because that was a different version or different time, different perspective. But now I have so many followings in so many countries and so many people come to the church. So why not I reappear and you know come back to this world and give some blessings to my followers? So once the dream was over, next day Jesus Christ reappeared, and the priest was scared. He says he recognized that this is the real Jesus Christ. Others did not recognize him. So others started telling him that he's like, playing a theater. He's making it up. They were using derogatory language against him. And the priest was listening to all that language. In his own heart, he knew that he's the real Jesus Christ, but he tolerated all the abusive language which people used. And then all the people, when they disappeared, he told Jesus Christ that don't come into this world because we are using your, you know, not your physical presence, but your emotional presence to make people understand about your message. If you come and if you start coming, then people will be completely, turning against you, and they will not believe that Jesus Christ can come again. So, this is how everything happened. And then Jesus Christ disappeared immediately. This is a story made up by somebody. But the fact is that if the Lord, the Supreme Lord appears, even Lord Krishna appears today in India, I think most people will not believe that this is possible, this is true, and they will use all kinds of derogatory language against him. This is how the world is. Very few people are able to understand the Supreme because you need a supreme consciousness to understand the supreme. Like we often say कि हीरे की कीमत जवाहर जो जोहरी है वो ही जानता है. Exactly, so you have to be johari. So the value of the supreme can be understood only with the supreme consciousness, and very few people have that consciousness, and therefore it is not easy to understand the Supreme in the normal worldly context. So this is what Arjuna did when he lived with him. He never understood that he was the Supreme, but now when he really saw him in the Supreme form, he is requesting him to forgive him for all those sins which he committed in variety of forms. Then verse number 43, आप इस चराचर जगत के पिता और सबसे बड़े गुरु एवं अति पूजनीय हैं। हे अनुपम प्रभाव वाले, तीनों लोकों में आपके समान भी कोई दूसरा नहीं है, फिर आपसे अधिक कैसे हो सकता है? So he is again praising the Supreme. He is saying that you are everything. You are Pita, you are the father to the entire existence. You are worth worshipping. You have supreme, dominating power over everything. And there can be nothing compared to you. And then verse number 44, अतएव हे प्रभु, मैं शरीर को भली भांति चरणों में निवेदित कर प्रणाम करके स्तुति करने योग्य आप ईश्वर को प्रसन्न होने के लिए प्रार्थना करता हूं। हे देव, पिता जैसे पुत्र के, सखा जैसे सखा के और पति जैसे प्रियतमा पत्नी के अपराध सहन करते हैं, वैसे ही आप मेरे अपराध सहन करने योग्य हैं। Now he is making the ultimate prayer to the Supreme, that I pray to you in the most polite way, in the most humble way, that you please forgive me whatever wrongs I have done in the past, in the same way as Pita forgives his father, forgives his son, or the friend forgives his another friend, or the husband forgives his spouse or his wife. So the same thing I want, and I'm requesting you humbly to forgive me on that. So this is how he ends up here, and we will continue in the next session from verse number 45 onwards. But basically, here two things become very clear in these verses. One is that the destiny is predetermined for this life, and that will continue to happen. We are not deciding the outcome. We are only working as instruments in the whole process. The work which we are doing, the action we are taking now, will decide our destiny later on. They are not deciding the destiny of the current birth. Maybe they impact marginally, but not much. That is one thing, and that is why he is explaining in the first two verses very clearly that what is destined to happen is happening. Don't worry, you just become an instrument in the process. And then after that, Arjuna comes into play again, and he's using all variety of adjectives to describe the Supreme, his qualities and his influence, and he's asking for his forgiveness in variety of forms for the wrongs he had done in the past. So basically, I think he's surrendering to this Almighty now. He's surrendering almost completely, not 100%, but almost completely. That is what it appears from these verses. And he is able to understand the real nature of Lord Krishna. So thank you very much. We will continue on our journey during the next week. Thanks a lot.